Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down.
It has been long overdue to expose the truth that the Democrats and Republicans are sucking the life out of America's liberty and usurping our rights at every turn. Now is the time to seize our civil liberties and take back our individual rights. Here on Southern Liberty, we will expose it all. With his musket on his back, the Declaration of Independence in one hand, and the Constitution in the other, here's your host, Roderick Threets.
Good evening, and welcome to this installment of Southern Liberty on the 1st of May, 2023. With my lovely co-host, as always, Ms. Kel Champlin. We usually on Mondays we talk about federal legislation, but this bill in Mississippi that just passed both chambers, finally has passed both chambers of their legislature and heading to the governor's desk, is being dubbed and gaslit as a Jim Crow law. And that's Mississippi House Bill 1020. And people are dubbing that bill as some sort of Jim Crow law and this, that, and the third. And it's our obligation at this point to really look at this bill, read through this bill with y'all. I mean, granted, I've already read it, but I want to read through this with y'all and give y'all the context that goes with this bill and literally give you the truth. Give you the truth behind this bill, right? Because it always seems like, and I'm going to the crayon box, Miss Kel. Sorry, it's early. No, I ain't even 2 minutes in, already going in the crayon box a second.
Well, right. With some of the things being said about this bill, I don't think there's a whole lot of choice on it. You know,
right? Because I'm going straight to the crayon box, y'all. Get your coloring books out. Anytime any quote unquote white legislator does something, or a predominantly white legislature passes something, it has to have some sort of racist connotation because, they can't want to do good for the citizens, especially if they're Republican. If they're white and Republican, God, they're passing racist legislation. Here's the thing. 90% of the people that say that shit don't read shit. It's just like Bakari Sellers said, right? This is what happens when Negroes don't read. And this is what this whole gaslight is about. It's the look at Mississippi's doing and pandering off of the history of Mississippi, because we know Mississippi has some very, very dark history when it comes to quote unquote xenophobia, right? Yeah, I ain't calling it racism, it's xenophobia. Yeah. Right. They had some serious issues, and they still have some issues today when it comes to it. I mean, that's just a fact. You're not going to eradicate it, but Mississippi seems to be a bastion of all of that, right? But these people are playing off of that, right? They're playing off of that to get people to say, hey, look at these Republicans over here. Look what they're doing. And they didn't read shit. So this evening, we're going to read through this whole thing, all 36 pages of this bill. Now, those of you that have read bill text before, you know these pages are not long. These pages are probably 100 words a pop, right? And it's indented, right, from the top and the sides and the bottom to be uniform. So you're literally only writing on 3/4 of the paper itself, and the words are double spaced. So really, in essence, we'd probably be reading 10 pages if you put it single space and reduce the text size. You know what I mean? So, but we're going to get through it tonight, and we're going to add some context to this, so you guys are armed when you hear people say this stuff. You can just shake your head like, you really didn't read this, did you? So that's what we're going to do. Before we get started, though, Miss Kel, what's going on in Cackalack? What's going on, girl?
Not a whole lot. Wind finally calmed the hell down. It was blowing hard yesterday. Yeah, I mean, it was blowing hard. We lost power several times yesterday and into last night. It was bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Still a little breezy today, but that's not nearly as offensive to the senses.
Mac breezy, huh?
Mac Breezy, I tell you, it was Mac Breezy, all right.
It was definitely breezy, easy breezy. Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of breeze, come yesterday. We had some tornadoes and all kinds of stuff blowing around here, and
yeah, I saw that.
Look here, don't know if to run for cover.
Nasty weather yesterday.
I don't know. We didn't know to run for cover or run for cover. I'm just saying, we didn't know. Let's see the big green cloud go over. Like, oh snap, there's got to be something going on right here. And you see a little rotation. Look, my behind standing outside like I'm waiting for it to touch down. Like, what you doing, bruh? What you doing,
Typical
bruh?
Southern kid. Go stand outside and film it.
Right? I'm like, look. You're all right here. Like, come on, touch on down now. Come on now. I mean, come on. I'm a kid that stood. Look, I'm the kid that stood outside during Hurricane Hugo in '84.
Oh, good Lord.
Right?
Yeah. See, nobody ever said you were the brightest bulb in the box, Rod. Come on.
This is how we do. Look, this is how we do in Florida. Come on now, the hurricane blowing 90 miles an hour. We outside in the hurricane, like, for real.
Hey, look, I grew up around the kids that had the sandbar parties.
Yeah, there you go.
During
see,
hurricanes.
Yep. See,
Yep.
And you waited back to shore. If the water got a little too, that storm surge coming. You just waited back to shore, like. Psh.
Or you stood out on the balcony of the hotel room and just partied all night and watched the surf come in.
Yeah, that too. I'm just saying they didn't say us Southern folks were the brightest people, but we the ones had the most fun with kids when we got in storms. Though, so this is why storms don't stare us. We're just like, yeah, whatever. Tornado coming.
Let me grab the surfboard.
Right.
Somebody go get me some wax. I need to wax my board.
Gotta do something with it. Yeah, so yeah, we was out here watching potential tornadoes just start spinning in the air. We're like, yeah, okay. The kids are like, get inside. I'm like, for what? Like, the tornado touched down. It don't matter at this point. Like, what's going on? Look, where we at? Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you ain't got a basement to hide in.
No, it's like, where you at, bruh? Like, for real. Like, where you going? We're going in the closet so shit can follow me. No, I'd rather be taken up with the wind. I'd rather fight the cars and the cows and the 2x4s flying in the air than to be getting crushed from above by a car. Screw that bullshit.
Nah, see, oh, hell, I have one hallway in this entire house that would work as an interior room, and I can't get into it to actually stay, to lay down and cover my head in that because I've got shelves lining it. That's where my pantry is.
See, that's what I'm saying. You don't go into an enclosed space. You don't know what's coming, going on. But I gotta see if a 1x3 is coming through my window. I want to see it come and hit me. I don't want to just all of a sudden just running while I'm in the enclosure. I'm like,
No, see, I'm a little different. Like I said, I grew up in the Dallas area. I know to get into a tight space and hang on tight. Have a pillow over my head the whole 9 yards.
Man, look, I'm just watching it. I'm like, I'm DED anyway. It don't matter. If it start twirling right in front of me, where am I going? I ain't going nowhere. I'm
Nowhere.
just like, yeah, I'm going straight up. That's where I'm going. I'm going straight up, right in the vortex. Whoop. I'll be in the middle of a tornado.
You won't even have a beautiful balloon, will you?
No, I'll be screaming in the middle of the vortex. God, I'm coming, Lord, I'm coming.
Oh my God!
I'm coming, Lord, I'm coming.
Elizabeth, I'm coming.
Shoot, y'all around here playing. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, we dealt with that yesterday and whatever, and then. Now we're here. Now we're here today. We're here this evening with everybody. Appreciate everybody in live chat this evening and all that good stuff. Everybody listening on the airwaves, South Florida, Southeast Georgia, Utah. Appreciate y'all coming through. Throw y'all in the live chat and listen through the internet. International. Appreciate y'all too. And Kel, check this out. Check this out. You ready for this one?
Yeah, sure.
We had a country download. Yeah, we had a country download four times last week. Random ass country. A random ass country. You ready for this shit?
Yes, sir.
Yemen.
Are you kidding me?
Right, random as hell. Yemen. Straight up, I checked the IP address. Now, it wasn't no military. This was straight up somebody in Yemen that subscribed to the show, and I seen all the episodes they downloaded. I'm like, wow, Yemen in the building. So my friend in Yemen, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? I know we're on different time zones, so you ain't gonna catch us. It's like you're probably actually right now you're in the middle of sleep anyway. So you're not gonna catch us right now. But I appreciate you doing the thing in Yemen. Just make sure you share it with your Yemen folk. You know what I mean? Yep. Spread the love, Lord. Spread the love. Yes. Yes.
Welcome to the Southern Liberty family.
Yes, Lord, yes. But yeah, we're gonna get into this. We gotta get into this Mississippi bill, this 1020, because we gotta break some stuff down. So the first question is first, before we even get to the bill, right? Mm-hmm. People are wondering, what is this Capital District in Jackson, Mississippi? I think everybody has that because they've heard about this. Oh, what is this Capital Improvement District nonsense? And what's this, that, and the third? Well, this Capital District, or let me call it its proper name, the Capital Complex Improvement District. I just shorten it up because it's just too much to choke on. I ain't got no ranch dressing for all that letter salad. But this was a district defined out of Mississippi State Code Title 29, Section 5201, right? And it created, to put it in layman's terms, it created a DC without the bureaucracy, right? Yep. Without a home rule bureaucracy is basically what that did. So you have this area that is controlled by the state legislature, per se, right? Laws and everything thereof, right? That creates this, right? And this Capital Improvement District has a lot of responsibilities, like street construction, bridge repair, street repair, street lights, street lighting, things on the right of way, public right of ways, things like that. They're their own entity in that regard of taking care of that area. Along with taking care of that area, the state police also police this area also and this is unique because you also have the Jackson police also policing this same area, right? So you have this district that's created. Now with that, I'm not going to go to the boundaries. If you want to figure out the boundaries, just look up the Capital Improvement District, Jackson, and you can see the actual boundaries because it's a lot of word salad. I'm not going to go through that, but they have this little special district set up, just for them, et cetera, for whatever purposes they see fit. So, with that being said, there is also a advisory committee. This is not a committee or some type of home rule type board or some sort of municipal authority. This is an advisory board, okay, that advises the state legislature on X, Y, and Z, what's going on in the district, etc. And this board consists of 9 people: the mayor of the city, or whoever he or she assigns to that spot; 1 member of the city council; 2 people appointed by the governor; 1 person appointed by the lieutenant governor; 1 person appointed by the Speaker of the House; 1 person appointed by the President of Jackson State University; 1 member appointed by the Vice Chancellor of Health Affairs of the University of Mississippi Medical Center; and the Director of the City of Jackson Department of Public Works, or whoever they assign thereof. Okay. Now, remind you, these guys, they are appointed to a certain term, right, by these particular entities to represent the interest of this district. But still, remember, it still remains under state, quote unquote, state jurisdiction. Now, that's very important when we go into this bill, this Mississippi Bill 1020 that they're claiming is so Jim Crow, right? That it will further clarify what they're talking about. So, Now that we got that out of the way and what this capital improvement district is, now let's actually get into some stats real quick, because the premise, right? The premise of this bill, okay, is, there's so much crime running rampant in Jackson, this, that, and the third. So the state legislature is taking it upon themselves to expand their boundaries to help fight crime. Now, I didn't know fighting crime was a Jim Crow tactic, but I digress. Now, just some quick stats about Mississippi in general and their crime statistics. Okay, Mississippi's murder rate, right, is 6 per 100,000. Mississippi's rape rate is 18 per 100,000. Robbery is 53 per 100,000. Well, all these are per 100,000. Okay, so
every stat that we're going to give tonight is per 100,000 on this.
So Mississippi's assault rate is 157. Okay, so now as far as the property crime rate, right, as a whole, Mississippi, 2,403 property crimes per 100,000. Now, you break those property crimes down. Burglary is 678. Theft is 1,561. And car theft is 144. Now, let's break that down further. Okay, and let's get into the crime of the actual city of Jackson.
Now, wait a minute.
Okay.
It says the odds of becoming a victim of burglary in the state of Mississippi are 2 times higher than the national average, suggesting that some towns might have an incredibly high rate that is skewing Mississippi's average burglary rate. Okay?
Correct.
Keep that in mind, because what we're doing here is we're comparing this to the national average. It's not just the average in the state of Mississippi. This is in comparison to the national average.
Right. That is correct. So in Jackson, Mississippi, the violent crime rate in Jackson is 733 violent crimes per 100,000, which is double the national average and triple the Mississippi average. Okay. Now, the crime rates for murder, rape, and robbery and assault are 23 murders. The rape rate's 42. The robbery rate's 290. And the assault rate's 379. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, Jackson's murder rate, right, is by their statistic, right, is 4 times the national average. 23 murders per 100,000.
Yeah. Yep.
That's,
Jackson is not that big a city, so
no.
You know,
I mean, what's the murder rate in Anniston, Alabama? I'm curious. Because Anniston, Alabama has a very extremely high murder rate.
Yeah, they do. Hang on just a second. I'm looking that up. If I can get my fingers to work tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Homicide rate for 2018 was 32.42 per 100,000.
You look, in Anniston.
Now wait a minute, and that was actually a 49% decline from 2017.
Yes. This is what I'm talking about. Jackson is rivaling little old Anniston, Alabama. And Anniston, Alabama's population is just over. Listen to this. Anniston, Alabama's population is just over 21,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I want y'all to think about that a second. I'm sorry. That's not a safe place to live.
No, it's not.
If you got 32 murders per 100,000 in a town of 21,000 people, I mean, let's really break that down, right? I mean, I shouldn't have to do the math. You get the picture. You get the picture. That's craziness.
But this is what's happening with a lot of our larger towns, smaller cities. those crime rates are going up. People can't afford to feed themselves, so what are they going to do? They're unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They have no way of being employed because the businesses are closing shop now.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do? They're going to turn to crime.
Yep. That's that. Hello. Hell freaking low. Yeah. Here's what's funny. Here's what's interesting. They're reporting out of Jackson, right? The unemployment rate, right?
Yeah.
Is 3.4%.
Yeah, right.
Now, mind you, this is lower than the long-term average of 6.48%. See, Jackson, Mississippi and we have to think about Jackson, right? This is the state capital. You got one of the biggest HBCUs in the country in Jackson, and you're running an unemployment rate of almost 7%. Now, mind you, these people will sit here and tell you this is all Republicans. I'm sorry, Democrats had a hold of Mississippi for a very, very, very long time.
Oh,
very long time. And wait, what wasn't that chicken plant that they raided right outside Jackson for the illegal immigrants during COVID?
Yeah.
Okay,
so.
I digress. That in itself was over 3,000 jobs that just went foop.
Yep.
But I digress. I digress. But anyway, so this is what we're looking at when we're looking at the violent crime rate in Jackson. Now, the property crime rate is 4,852 per 100,000. God, that's crazy, right?
Yeah,
the burglary rate 1,281 burglaries. The theft rate is 2927, and the car theft rate is 644. Now, the burglary rate in Jackson is 340% higher than the national average, meaning, right, basically saying that people in Jackson will experience burglary more often than not.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's the interesting part. The most dangerous neighborhoods in Jackson, okay? Colonial Heights is the most dangerous neighborhood in Jackson. And, Ms. Kell, where's Colonial Heights? In the Jackson area?
You know what? I still can't frickin' find it on this map. It looks like it's on the north side, but I can't tell.
That is correct. It is on the north side.
Colony Heights, not Colonial Heights.
It is. It's the same place. Yes, it's the same place. So yeah, it is on the north side of town, just north of the capital. Okay.
Yeah.
This area. Check this out. This area has a population of 744 people, yet it has 860% more crime than the Jackson average crime rate. In this neighborhood, there are 6,660 violent crimes per 100,000, and the violent crime rate is 2,846% higher than Mississippi's violent crime rate and 1,748% higher than the national crime rate.
And that's for a neighborhood with a population of 744 people. Let that sink in, folks.
Oh, it gets richer. Scotland Heights, the second most dangerous neighborhood in Jackson. Scotland Heights is out west a little bit. Is just west of the capital, right? Just past Jackson State, right? Scotland Heights. Okay, this area has a population of 945 people. This area has 845% more crime rate than it has a higher 845% more higher crime rate than Jackson average, and has 6,554 violent crimes per 100,000 people, meaning the residents have a 1 in 15 chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime. You know how scary that is? 1 in 15 people will experience a violent crime.
Yeah.
God. Property crimes, 5,909 property crimes per 100,000. This is 268% higher than the national average. Another neighborhood, Brook Hollow, which is a little bit further west, almost outside of Jackson, right?
Yeah, it is almost outside of Jackson.
Brook Hollow has a population of 350 people, yet it sees 410% more crime than the rest of Jackson. There are 3,539 violent crimes per 100,000, which basically says 1 in 28 chance of becoming a victim of violent crime. The property crime rate is 5,318 property crimes per 100,000, and a resident is 1 in 18 residents has a chance of becoming a victim of a property crime. So you have to like that. That's just not good odds.
No, it's not.
Right. We got another one. I have a few of them here. Those of you that have been on, but I want to kind of, you have an idea just of what's going on in Jackson, and this is just not a couple of areas. There's 10 areas that are stacked like this, or very close together, right? Yeah. So you have a city that is literally riddled with crime. Either they'll break into your place and then beat you up after they break into your shit.
And the fact of the matter is we're not talking just a little crime, okay? We're talking a lot of crimes. And the majority of them are violent crimes.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
We're not talking about somebody breaking into your bank account, for crying out loud. We're talking about somebody trying to take your damn life.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is, now you have the context, y'all, of the state, what the state legislature is talking about, the crime rate, this, that, and the third, and they want to expand, right, their space, their authority to help fight the crime that obviously the police cannot keep down.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's keep it real, right? You have to come to a point to humble yourself as the mayor of this city and be like, we do need some outside resources to help us with this crime rate. We got to get some economics in here. You know what I'm saying? Because look, the unemployment is 3.4%. Yeah, great. But those jobs are not jobs like on the campus of Jackson State. No, right, where you're making 50, 60 grand a year. It's all these little meaningless.
It's part-time work as gas station clerks. It's part-time work at restaurants. It's part-time work at landscaping companies.
Right.
Okay. It's not, and I understand that your landscape companies and that work full-time in the summer and spring, but when it comes time for winter, what do?
Yep.
Okay. So we're not talking jobs that will really sustain a family for the most part.
But we also have to think too, right? There's no business, and we've seen this example in Chicago, right? Just recently, right? And in California, right? Where businesses with the high crime rates are pulling out. Because we can't do this. We can't handle it. And the nerve of people in Chicago, Walmart shouldn't leave. They just took everything off their goddamn shelf. What you mean? Man, look, I would have boarded up the store on day one of them stealing from me. I'm done.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the looting video that's been going around from Chicago.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm done.
All over the floor, except for the fruits and veggies now.
Yeah. Ain't that funny? You ain't gonna loot the fruits and veggies, really, man. Look, if I'm looting, I'm pulling up on the fruits and veggies because I can take them seeds and plant them. Screw all the meat, all that. I can go without meat for long periods of time, but you can't really go without vegetables for long periods of time, right? You can't do that to yourself. So I'd have been looting the fruits and veggies. I've been loading that shit up in the cart and rolling out. Shit, that's not no damn meat. You know what I'm saying? That meat ain't gonna regenerate itself. You know what I'm saying? No. So,
not from packaging, it's not.
Right? So I'm just saying, right? But anyway, right? Businesses will leave areas that are high in crime, and Jackson is one of these places, right? Their biggest employer is Jackson State. That should tell you everything you need to know.
When you have areas like Jackson, well, hell, even here in Jasper County, government jobs, university jobs, things like that tend to be the biggest employer in town or in the county. And that's exactly what's happening here. Because if it's not the university system, it will be your county government.
Yep, that's correct. That's exactly correct. So we have that context in place. So now let's go. Remember everything we've told you, right? We're going to go through this bill. Right, and those of you that want to follow along, If you're on the Patreon, just go right to the article I wrote about the crime rate. We just basically recited the statistics and all that good stuff, right? And you can download the PDF and you can read along with us, or you can read on it on the Patreon site. Either way, whichever you see fit. Or you can just search up House Bill 1020 Mississippi, and you'll find it that way too. But anyway, we're gonna go through this bill. We're gonna get through it fast as we can, but we're gonna make sure you comprehend what's happening, right? So. This bill, right, is an act to create inferior courts in a capital complex improvement district to hear certain criminal and civil matters occurring or accruing in the boundaries of the capital complex improvement district, to provide judges for the CCID inferior courts that shall possess the same qualifications as circuit and chancery court judges, to provide for the appointment of the judges by the Chief Justice of the Mississippi Supreme Court, to provide for the salary and operating allowance of the judges, to require the Attorney General to appoint attorneys to prosecute cases within the jurisdiction of the CCID inferior courts, to require the state defender to appoint public defenders for defendants who fall within the jurisdiction of the CCID inferior courts, to provide for the appointment of a clerk and a deputy clerk, the whole nine yards. That's basically, they're setting up the judicial system in the CCID, right? But there's other things in this bill too, right? So in section 1 of this bill, this bill calls for 2 inferior courts to be set up for Article 6, Section 172 of the Mississippi Constitution, to be located within the boundaries of the CCID as we laid out in Section 29.5203. We didn't go over the boundaries, but again, you guys can go look up the boundaries, this, that, and the third, whatever, right? So, Section 2 is just, how long a term the judges will serve 4-year terms. They're appointed by the Chief Justice. But I want to get down a little bit into this bill. The Attorney General obviously will be appointing the attorneys. Obviously that makes sense. I mean, those of you that follow lawfare, you know how that stuff works, right? So the Attorney General is taking care, of the prosecutors. The State Defender's Office, right, is taking care of the public defenders for the CCID. Okay. So with that,
which is pretty. This is pretty standard for setting up an inferior court.
Right, that is correct. And the clerk is going to be doing their thing, et cetera, et cetera. So let's get down. I got to find my highlights here, y'all. So bear with me a second. I got so many highlights on this bill that I want to touch on. Because a lot of it's procedural, but let me get down to the meat and potatoes. Okay, we talked about the police force, right? The police force will be patrolling the Capital Complex Improvement District. And they'll standardize, body cameras, things like that. The boundary also notified in this bill. We're not going to go through that. That's just too much. That is just too much.
It's one of those things where there's a lot of technicalities as far as the boundaries are concerned, as to where the court has operating jurisdiction and where the state police who are patrolling this particular district have jurisdictional operation. That's
correct. That is exactly correct. So, the Department of Revenue, right, also the tax collector, will be collecting special taxes. Not special tax. They'll be collecting sales tax, but they'll be taking a percentage of that sales tax and sending it for reclamation projects, et cetera, in the district, or some type of public sprucing up. Right, we'll call it public sprucing up. We're gonna brand new sidewalks, trees, things like that, right? So
that's capital improvements. Yeah.
Yes, capital improvements, and not capital gains,
but
capital improvements. Yes.
That's what they call it, but it is actually basically sprucing the area up.
Right, it's sprucing it up. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. God, did my highlights? Did my highlights go away?
I don't know.
I'm looking at it now. I think my highlights went away. Oh no. Yeah, I'll give me a second here.
Sure. Now, it's interesting to me to read through this bill because I've never seen a court set up like this. I mean, it's just one of those things where most of the courts I've grown up around have been in place for quite a while. So to see an inferior court set up is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really it's. I mean, yeah, when was the last time we even witnessed one? I don't think we've actually had one.
Mm-hmm.
We've had districts created.
Yeah,
from other districts
have been created, but not district courts.
Right, because the courts were already in place at that point. So actually, we need to go. We need to go over the boundaries, though, because here's the thing: it's mentioned in the neighborhoods, right? Got to talk boundaries. So, what's ended up happening is the Capitol, right, is literally in downtown Jackson. It's in downtown Jackson. Unlike most capitals are kind of on the outskirts or, the outskirts of the city limits, they're like right on the city limit. Jackson's capital is in the city. Literally in the city. Kind
of like Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, kind of like Columbia.
It's in downtown.
Right. It's right dead center. Right. Yep. So the current capital district only goes north about 2.5 miles. Right into the east to the Pearl River. So those of you that have a map of Jackson, you just imagine that, okay? And then, right?
It doesn't really cover a whole big plot of land.
No, it's not. But now with the new revisions, right? Now, if you look at your map, they're going all the way up north to County Line Road, which is right at Ridgeland. Okay?
Yeah, it is.
Now, 3 of those neighborhoods we mentioned are now encompassed in the Capital Improvement District.
Yeah.
Right? 3 of those neighborhoods we just talked about with the high violent crime and the high property crime
are now in that district.
Yes. Now, when we talk about going, now we're going to go west. I need to realign my map here.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing the same thing.
Okay, so now that we're up at County Line Road, which is right at Ridgeland, okay. Mm-hmm. Now this road they go all the way across to 51. Okay, and if you're looking at it on the map right now, right, US 51, right by the Raising Cane's. Right, and they're coming all the way down 51. So so if you're looking at the map right now, y'all, right, think about it this way: everything now east of 51 and north of the actual capital itself, all the way over to the Pearl River, is now in the Capital Complex Improvement District. Now we have to kind of slide to the west a little bit, right? If we slide to the west a little bit, because as we're reading this, okay, let's see. Okay, so if we go down to Hartfield Street off of 51, okay, and Hartfield Street is gonna, if you're following 51 down, you're gonna run right into Hartfield Street.
Yep.
Okay. Then you take Hartfield Street west. Okay. You take Hartfield Street west all the way over to Oxford Avenue. Okay. What you have just done is incorporated 3 of those neighborhoods that's on that list. So now a total of those 5 crime-ridden neighborhoods have been encompassed now into the Capital Complex Improvement District.
Yeah.
Now, if you keep going further down, you go down to down Mitchell Street, all the way down to Stonewall Street, down to Livingston, and then to Woodrow Wilson, right? You just encompassed 2 more of those violent neighborhoods. So if you're looking at a map of Jackson right now, right? for all intended purposes, all right, basically everything east of Bailey Avenue in Jackson, all the way over through 51 to Pearl River, is all part of the Capital Improvement District. So they have literally done as taking over that strip of land in northeast Jackson, north of Jackson State. Now remember, this doesn't include Jackson State, right? Because they're their own entity. Yeah. They're not part of that district.
Yeah, they're their own district. Yeah.
Right. And straight on up. So the state just basically commandeered, just created a jurisdiction. I'm still trying to find out by reading this bill.
Yeah.
How it's Jim Crow when they're setting up a presence, right? Because here's the thing, right? Here's where my beef is on this, right? Mm-hmm. If this is Jim Crow, if creating an inferior court and expanding the Capitol Police Force, even though police should be sheriffs, but anyway, I digress.
That's completely a different.
That's issue, different. So. That's a different situation, right? Mm-hmm. If this is Jim Crow, then what was it before? What is it before this? Like seriously.
Exactly. No, I understand exactly where you're coming from, because all they did was expand the district. It already had police patrolling. It just wasn't the Capitol Hill Police. It wasn't the state Capitol Police.
Right. That's correct.
All they did was change the damn name of the police department.
Well, they didn't even change that because Jackson Police still have jurisdiction.
Yeah, they do, but
they have double coverage now.
Yeah, they had double coverage.
But what I'm getting at is, if this bill creates Jim Crow, then again, what did you have before with the high violent crime and the high property crime rate? You couldn't walk outside your front door if and not knowing if you're going to get mugged or robbed. Really?
Or shot dead, yeah.
Like, let's keep this real. You would be want to call this Jim Crow 2.0, 3.0, whatever 0.0 they want to call it. Mm-hmm. But let's keep it all the way real. Most people, even though we take us out of the equation, our feelings out of the equation, y'all, because we know how we all feel about police and how we favor our sheriffs. Most people want that extra police protection. They want to feel safe walking outside of their house every day. I don't care, and you can't call racism on that. People have a right to walk around safe. People have the right to walk around safe. Good question, Ms. Kell. What are the gun laws in Mississippi? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, not off the top of my head. I know that they do have. I think they have castle doctrine.
Yeah, they have castle doctrine.
I know that Jackson is no more stringent about firearms in the city than just about any other southern city. I don't know that they have registration or anything like that.
I think that'd be something we would definitely do.
Give me just a minute and I'll pull it.
Okay, that could be something too. We could talk about after the break, because here's the people have a right to feel protected if they don't. You know what I'm saying? They have a right to life. Yeah. Right. And again, right. Well, I'm using the Democrats and the left's same argument against them, right? Because I'm good at that, right? The people have a right to life, but if you're not going to do anything to protect that life, then what good are you? Don't grandstand about gun control, right? When you've basically disarmed people, and then now you have a bunch of violent crime by criminals that don't follow the law. They're robbing and killing people in your city, and you are mute on that issue.
Well, I want you to keep in mind, though, too, that in these dangerous neighborhoods in Jackson, the police have encouraged people to be proactive about protecting themselves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they're not saying don't protect yourselves, just wait for the cops. They're saying they want you to protect yourself.
If they know every house has a gun in it and someone's going to pull up, exactly. They're going to pull up and pull it out, They won't run into it no more, or people, you know what I mean, afraid to you know what I'm saying, walk in the streets with it and stupid stuff like that. Like, at some point, dear Democrats, at some point in time, dear Democrats, y'all, and I hate doing a partisan thing, but I'm sorry, y'all have had control of Mississippi for so long and allowed these things to continue in perpetuity. Right?
You've allowed it to fester at this point.
And now there's a big problem. There's a huge problem. And then now you're going to call it Jim Crow when the state steps in to solve it, since the municipality's not solving it. Now now you're going to run your mouth and say Jim Crow. Yeah. It's Jim Crow. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm going to the crayon box. And before we go to the break real quick. But so much for your fellow man's lives mattering. Right. I'm sorry. You can't sit here and holler white man this and white man that, but then continue to not create a solution to the problem that's there. We'll be back here on Southern Liberty here in 6.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks ending lower after regulators seized ailing bank First Republic and agreed to sell the bulk of its operations to J.P. Morgan. First Republic had been reeling since the failures of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. J.P. Morgan shares rising 2% on the prospect of adding many of First Republic's customers. The Dow falling 46 points, the Nasdaq down 14, S&P 500 down 2. And Bud Light has been dealing with the fallout from a social media promotion for its Bud Light beer featuring Dylan Mulvaney, a transgender influencer. The controversy is hurting Bud Light's off-premise sales volume. That's the amount of beer sold outside of restaurants and bars. And according to Beer Business Daily, sales fell over 26% from a year earlier in the week ending April the 22nd. The figures include sales at grocery, convenience, and liquor stores. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
The Fearless and Proud podcast series looks at acts of bravery and strength by women. And in the first season, we'll look at women who played important roles in the Civil War. In episode 2, as the war approached their kitchen windows or as their own loved ones went off to fight, women decided to put on a uniform or disguise themselves and join the struggle in ways not seen before. We'll discuss how these women maintained their disguises and why the era's social mores helped their deception on both sides. Listen ad-free on Fox News Podcasts via Apple Podcasts, and Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on Amazon Music.
Reassurances from the White House. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden says the banking system is safe after the collapse of First Republic Bank.
I've called on Congress to give regulators the tools to hold bank executives accountable, and I've called on regulators to strengthen regulations and supervision of large and regional banks.
The assets of First Republic have been sold to J.P. Morgan Chase. First Republic is the third mid-sized bank to need federal intervention in less than 2 months. The White House says President Biden will call on Congress to avoid a default without conditions during a meeting with the 4 congressional leaders next Tuesday. The meeting was called after Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned the government could run out of money as soon as next month. A transgender Montana state representative is suing after being censured last week.
Montana State Rep Zoe Zephyr has filed a lawsuit asking to be allowed to return to the Montana House floor after the Democrat was reprimanded last week for what her colleagues called hateful comments, that they'd have blood on their hands for voting to ban child sex change treatments in Montana and for encouraging protests that disrupted proceedings, with riot police making several arrests. Though Zephyr's legal challenge comes with just days left in the legislature's biennial session after a vote to ban child sex change treatments passed and after Republican Governor Greg Gianforte signed it.
Fox's Jeff Manasso.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down.
Singer-songwriter Gordon Lightfoot, best known for such classics as The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, If You Could Read My Mind, and Sundown, has died. The Canadian Broadcasting Company says, citing Lightfoot's publicist, Lightfoot had recently Haley announced that he was canceling the remaining dates of his tour due to health reasons. Gordon Lightfoot was 84. America is listening to Fox News.
Identity theft shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, more than $14 billion were stolen last year. That's a criminal success story and a wake-up call for everyone else. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save up to 25% their first year by going to LifeLock.com/Fox.
The Missouri judge has temporarily blocked the state's new limits on transgender health care.
Last week, the judge said she needed more time to consider a lawsuit against the emergency rules put in place by State Attorney General Andrew Bailey. And today, she temporarily blocked them from taking effect, citing harm to trans patients who are already receiving care. The new rules said in order to receive gender-affirming care in Missouri, one had to have 3 years of documented struggle with gender dysphoria, proof of therapy sessions, and mental health as well as autism screenings. The judge said the temporary restraining order will remain in place until May 15th, and she scheduled a preliminary injunction hearing for May 11th. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
There may soon be another Republican hat officially in the ring for president in 2024.
South Carolina GOP Senator Tim Scott on Sunday night teased May 22nd is a big day.
We will have a major announcement and you're going to want to be there.
It's anticipated he will make official his candidacy for president just weeks after forming an exploratory committee. At a Charleston town hall, he touched on topics like the military, China abroad, and schools at home.
Our kids are being indoctrinated and not educated. It is time for a change.
Scott would join several announced GOP hopefuls, including former President Donald Trump and ex-South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who appointed Scott to the Senate in 2012. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Gwyneth Paltrow will not recoup her attorney's fees she paid to successfully defend herself against a lawsuit from a 76-year-old retired optometrist who claimed that she was at fault for crashing into him at a Utah ski resort in 2016. A Utah judge has ruled attorneys for Paltrow and Terry Sanderson had agreed to drop the matter of Paltrow's attorney fees. The judgment affirmed the jury's unanimous verdict, finding Terry Sanderson to be 100% at fault. I'm Lee Silasera. This is Fox News.
There's no sign of identity theft slowing down. And why should it? More than $14 billion were stolen from identity theft victims last year alone. To cyber criminals, it's a success story. To the rest of us, it's a wake-up call. Your personal info is in more places now than ever, and all that exposure can make it dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself by monitoring your identity and alerting you to threats you could miss on your own. If you become a victim of identity theft, a U.S.-based LifeLock restoration specialist will be dedicated to your case and work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. Save up to 25% off your first year by going to LifeLock.com/Fox. That's LifeLock.com/Fox for 25% off.
Welcome back, Southern Liberty. Appreciate y'all coming through this evening, hanging out with us here, talking about this Mississippi House Bill 1020 and how such Jim Crow it is. It's Jim Crow to want to fight crime. It's Jim Crow. It's Jim Crow. It's Jim Crow though.
According to the mayor, it is.
I mean, look. Apparently, what'd you find on those gun laws, Miss?
They're actually the firearms laws in Mississippi are actually pretty lax. I'm not saying they're bad or anything. I mean, they're just not very restrictive. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the more interesting things that I've found. Let me see if I can find it again. It's talking about concealed carry.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have a concealed carry license to carry it in your purse, briefcase, or in an enclosed case.
Mm-hmm.
although they do offer concealed carry permits, and they are, like anything else, you have to have a license and a. But yeah, they're lax even with that. You know, they offer hunter safety courses for kids, which in a southern state, that's pretty normal, especially with one as big a hunting base as they have in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
They do offer firearms training courses in schools, and it looks like those are for rifle. I know that they offer them here in South Carolina at certain schools. Private schools especially will have trap and skeet clubs for shotgun. But one of the more interesting things that I see here, to possess, carry, whether openly or concealed, any BB gun, air rifle,
started.
air pistol on educational property. In other words, they're not going to tag you basically if you're under 18 and you're carrying an air gun, an airsoft rifle, or something like that. Well, they're not going to tag you with a felony like they would in places like New York or Michigan or whatever.
Right, and personally, that is actually like stupid talk. You know what I mean? Because you can tell the difference between an airsoft gun and a regular gun.
For the most part, yeah. Unless it really is dark and it's too quick and whatever. I mean, it just, if you have a cop with a happy trigger finger, it's going to happen. An accident will happen.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying they're even more relaxed with their laws as far as people under the age of 18 possessing firearms and airsoft rifles and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing a whole lot of really major issues when it comes to places like Jackson and having to have a license to own firearms or anything else. So when the cops say, yeah, we want you to be proactive about defending your rights and your property, they mean it. And they're not going to put any prohibitions in your way to do it.
Yeah. 125,000%.
Now, it does not look like it's a Class 3 state. You cannot possess what they call silencers or, buffers or anything else. But other than that, it looks like just about anything goes.
Right. So watch this. Right now, we're going to talk about the Jim Crow laws. Right.
Sure.
And you know how one person, this writer from the Daily Beast, basically said that, oh, the state is creating a white-controlled district in an overwhelmingly black city with unelected officials and judges and prosecutors.
Okay. The legislation, and the reason they're saying that is because the legislation was created by a white Republican.
Yeah, that's the only reason why they're saying that. And I'm sitting here like, you got to come better than that. You got to come better than that. Because for me, here's where I'm at, right? Mm-hmm. And I think everybody knows where I'm kind of at on this, but I've never said it out loud, right? When you throw the government's construct of race for part of your argument, you're automatically discredited. You're done with me. Because
exactly,
you're telling me when you say, well, this, that, and black, and look at what these white people are doing, and you start misspelling the word white, and all this shit tells me everything I need to know about you and your character. I can't have a conversation with you because obviously if you're using words like that, right? And for me, that's the same thing when it comes to this word far, like far right and far left. Like it's a bunch of, y'all got to stop using that stuff because there's no such thing as far right or far left. It's like they're crazies, period. They're crazy people. They're crazy people.
Yes, they are. They are crazy people. You know, I mean, if you want to go with labels, then go with labels. But, you know, let's not belabor the point and say, oh, well, it has to be this or this because somebody with an R or a D behind their name signed the legislation. No, it doesn't work that way, bruh. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't. And I'm sorry, just because this was a white Republican legislator who proposed the bill and put it forth and got it passed by both houses in Mississippi, That does not mean that it is racist. Now, I will say this, because the author of the article came out of the Daily Beast.
Mm-hmm.
What more did you expect, Rod?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let's be honest. What more did you expect?
Yeah.
If you are a Republican, you are an extremist. End of story.
Mm-hmm. Now watch this. Watch this. Jim Crow laws in Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
Now, we already talked about this bill. Now we're going to run through some Jim Crow laws real quick, right?
Okay.
When it comes to education in Mississippi during Jim Crow, separate schools shall be maintained for the children of the white and colored races.
Mm-hmm. That was true of just about every southern state, yes.
Uh-huh. Promotion of equality. Any person who shall be guilty of printing, publishing, or circulating printed, typewritten, or written matter, urging or presenting for public acceptance or general information, arguments, or suggestions in favor of social equality or of intermarriage between whites and Negroes shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and subject to fine or not exceeding $500 or imprisonment not exceeding 6 months or both. Watch this. Intermarriage. Okay. The marriage of a white person with a Negro or mulatto or a person who shall have 1/8 or more Negro blood shall be unlawful and void. You know, the octoroon, the one drop rule. Remember, y'all,
the one drop rule. Yeah.
Remember how I explained to y'all why the marriage license came into existence. This is why. This is exactly why the marriage license came into existence, so they could have jurisdiction over you and draw the blood from you to determine if you had Negro in your blood. I digress.
See, I never understood that because they never really had a way to do that.
Oh, yeah, there was a way to do it.
Was there?
Mm-hmm.
I always figured it was just a way of putting the fear of God into people about not getting married.
They had a way of determining if you had quote unquote Negro in your blood. There was a way. I can't remember. I'll probably have to do a small.
Well, yeah, I'll
segment
take
on
a look and see what I can find. But it's like, okay, well, kind of leaves me shit out of luck with Brian, doesn't it?
Right.
He's about as white as he can be outside of being invisible.
Now,
and I'm from the South. There is no chance on God's green earth I don't have black or native blood somewhere in the family tree.
Correct. Correct. So hospital entrances. There shall be maintained by the governing authorities of every hospital maintained by the state for treatment of white and colored patients, separate entrances for white and colored patients and visitors, and such entrances shall be used by the race only for which they are prepared. Yep. Prisons, the warden shall see that the white convicts shall have separate apartments for both eating and sleeping with the Negro convicts. And that's pretty much the same stuff all the way across the South.
Yeah, it is. It is. And if y'all think it didn't happen all the way up into Maryland, you're insane, because it did.
Oh, wait. I mean, look. I mean, we're talking New Mexico, Wyoming, these things was happening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? People, see, here's the thing. People are very disingenuous when they think Jim Crow only happened in the South. Right? Look, Oregon just got rid of the last of their Jim Crow laws a couple of years ago when it came to jury selection.
Yes. Yep. But you look at states like Illinois. They had schools up until just a few years ago that were still going through desegregation. I mean, people like Pamela know what I'm talking about when I say that Winnebago County schools, Rockford City schools, as a matter of fact, just finished their lawsuit not too long ago.
Right.
Because they never desegregated when everyone else did.
Yeah. That's right. That's exactly right. I mean,
and the funny thing is you can still see remnants of Jim Crow South here.
Oh, look!
Outside the courthouse, there is a soldiers' memorial. Okay, naming all of the soldiers and that from the different wars who lived in Jasper County, who were from Jasper County.
And then you had another monument separate for all. Yep.
There was, yes. And they finally, within the last 20 years, mingled the names. Yeah. Because they were forced to by law.
Yep. They didn't have a choice. But see, here's the funny thing, right? Speaking of Jim Crow, right? Here's the funny thing. Maybe they are right. And I'm gonna take their premise, right? Y'all, the audience knows how I do. The listenership on the airwaves know how I do. So we're gonna go ahead and get down with it, Miss Kel. You ready?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Maybe that girl is right on the Daily Beast that Jim Crow is making a comeback. So I think she's 100% right. Now let's go down through there a minute, right? Because again, right, I don't hold virtue in the color of my skin.
No.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I don't hold virtue.
I don't know anybody who does.
Oh, yeah, you do. Black power, Black Lives Matter.
Oh, no.
They hold virtue.
Personally.
Right. Oh, not personally.
That's not.
Right.
Yeah, not personally. I don't.
Okay. Right. So, what these same people and their political idols and people they worship have told them that they need a safe space away from white people, and they eat that shit up.
Yeah.
What is that? The self-segregation is the same segregation by law, but now they're pulling it under the illusion of it's their choice to segregate themselves like Jim Crow, but want to turn around and point the finger. Oh, look, it's Jim Crow. Well, you created the paradigm by saying your feelings needed a safe space. So now here you are holding the bag, the emotional bag of what the hell have I done? And then only thing you have to do now, because you're mad that you made some fucked up decision, is you want to point out white kids like at the Arizona State. Remember that? How this is a black space. We'll beat you up. Wait, hold the fuck up. What?
It's a community building.
What?
There are no such things as black spaces and white spaces. That is called segregation. And if you want to live that way, you can live that way. Just build your own college to do it.
Yeah. I mean, look at what just happened out at Berkeley. Remember last year at Berkeley, where they say, "Well, these houses are only for the black and brown people." Bitch, what? Like,
well, okay, and you look at the graduations. They want to hold segregated graduations.
Yes.
For what? You all graduated. You all went to school together. What the hell's the problem?
What they are doing is playing. Listen. I'm just, y'all know me. I call a spade and call it for what it is, because I ain't got time to dance around it and whatever, right? I can be intellectual with it, and I can just be straight gangster with it. So this is that moment. It's going to be straight gangster, right?
Okay.
They allowed these quote unquote, watch this, Miss Kel, go into the crayon box with all due permission. Point of order, please.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate
Motion
you.
Granted. Motion granted.
Appreciate you.
Like you need my permission. Are you kidding me?
Audience, I'm taking a point of privilege here. And laying
Being
this,
Brad is what he's doing.
and laying this boogie all the way down. When you've allowed these same quote unquote white people, you call them, however you spell it, YTWHYTE, however you spell that white thing, right?
Yep.
You have allowed these people to manipulate your mind. When it comes to slavery, when it comes to Jim Crow, they've got you so damn gaslit when they turn around and flip the script on you, makes you want to separate from white people, but ally with the ones that are keeping you gaslit. That make sense a minute to me. Like you know what I mean? It's almost like I have given you Stockholm syndrome, but hang out with me a minute, because it's the other ones that gave you Stockholm syndrome, right? But it's really Munchausen syndrome, because I got you confused, but still hang out with me because I'm on your team. I'm going to help you fix that problem. Case in point, Tennessee 3. You know damn well.
Oh, God, yes.
Look, y'all know damn well that white woman set them two boys up to do all that shit. She ain't say shit but grab the bullhorn. She ain't say anything. She let them two boys blow out of decorum, right? Disorderly conduct, right? And because of the virtue of their skin color, they got reinstated, and no one batted an eyelash. Listen to what I'm saying. Then that woman had to come out. Well, you know why I'm still here? Because of white supremacy. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Right? This is what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. These folks have been gaslit so much over this quote unquote race thing, that they will coddle up to the people that gave them the dissonance problem. And with that, I relinquish my time.
Okay, it's fascinating to me that any one group of people will allow someone else to speak for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you don't know me personally. How dare you speak for me?
Mm-hmm.
How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
But it happens all the time.
Yep.
Okay?
It
Black Lives Matter was doing it. Mm-hmm. Al Sharpton does it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Crump is stepping up to take that particular role.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What about the Latino leaders? It's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you allow someone to take your voice and say, oh, well, honey, we know what you need? Mm-hmm. Why would you allow that?
Yep. But they're all right. They're all right. The puppets, right? They're all right. They're ventriloquists, right? Are the same white people that institutes the oppression and depression, right? And I think I touched.
Well, if you want to call them limousine liberals, if you want to call them Democrats, if you want to call them idiots, I don't care. They have no right to speak for you as a person.
No. And I kind of touched on that yesterday, right? On Chasing Life, Liberty, and Monarchy yesterday, right?
Yes, you did.
When we're talking about what's the difference between inner cities and Appalachia, right? What's the difference? There is no difference. It's these Democrat regulations that blew both of them up and made them both equally poor.
Yes, it is.
Right? People say, well, someone had a nerve to tell me, well, they're white, so they should be able to do this. I said, have you ever actually been in Appalachia? Like, there are some places in Appalachia you can't, like, especially, let's take West Virginia, for example.
Oh.
Right?
West Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, there are areas you do not go into if you were not born there.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even that, right? I want to use West Virginia for example. I want to go out to, like, let's do White Sulphur Springs and Rossford, West Virginia, on that southeastern edge towards the Covington, Virginia line, right?
Yep, absolutely.
There's areas out there in Rossford and White Sulphur Springs, you can't get a cell reception. You can't more or less get internet out there.
Yeah.
But you expect these people in these coal mining towns in the areas like Rossford and outside Beckley and outside Clarksburg, right, to improve their situation. How? When you have literally stripped them of their livelihoods. I'm sorry, West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, that's coal country. That's coal country for a reason. That's
there are parts of Ohio that are the same way.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Like places like Ashtabula and not Ashtabula, but I'm going up towards the. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Gallipolis, right out there, right near West Virginia, near Wheeling, right? All that's coal country. That's what they do out there. But when you regulate an industry so bad, where it makes these people poor in dilapidated buildings, the same regulations and policies do the same thing to the inner cities, and people cannot seem to connect the damn dots.
Exactly.
And it's not Republican policies. I'm sorry, I'm going on a partisan tip here, but it's not Republican policies doing it. Now, Republicans being quiet is complicit, right? Mm-hmm. Sure. But they weren't the ones putting in the policies, right? Starting going back, we're going to talk about 1977 when they started really regulating the coal industry. This is why Appalachia literally got ran out. Right, one of the biggest mines in Kentucky, in Hyden, Kentucky, when that one imploded that year, they didn't even try to reopen that. And that was one of the biggest mines in southeastern Kentucky. They didn't even reopen that mine. They weren't even allowed to. The federal government said, no, you cannot reopen this mine.
You can't reopen it. Yeah. Well, they're doing the same thing with oil refineries. If you have a fire there, you're not going to be allowed to repair it. You can't build new.
Yeah.
Because you can't get the funding for it. Because, you're not diverse enough. You don't get the ESG scoring.
Yep.
Really? For a fuel company?
Yep.
You're not ever going to get an ESG score.
No. In that thread I did on Twitter about that yesterday, right? Some woman tried to tell me she lives in southern West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Now, she's in southern West Virginia, so I've been here all my life. I said, then you should know exactly
what we're talking about here. Exactly.
What I've been talking about when it comes to these regulations. Damn the coal. But it's federal regulations that overstep the state's economic growth, stunts it, and makes them dependent. See, this is what these people don't understand, right? We want to talk about Jim Crow laws. The federal government perfects it, but they don't use it in the face of race. They use it in the face of economic status.
Okay.
Right?
Let me bring you another example on this. Okay. Is the climate change stuff. Okay. It's pretty much the same thing. They're putting entire industries and entire towns and counties out of business. Why? So that these rich people can go and buy waterfront property that they know is never going to die. It's never going to sink into the ocean.
Right.
For them to tell you how to live.
That's correct.
But, they're the climate gurus. They know everything. The Earth is going to die in 12 years. How long ago was that?
22, 24 years ago.
It's been a good 40 years, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Earth Day has been around since as long as I have. Matter of fact, just over a year younger than I am.
Yeah, it's a gaslight.
Yeah, it is. It's a money maker. That's all it is a money maker.
Yep, and that's the thing, right?
And it's a regulation pool for the federal government.
That's exactly correct. And they can make literally. I mean, look, you know what I love the most is when Democrats run around and they say, "Well, look, Democrat cities are more wealthier than the South. We support the South." Well, it was your regulations that dried the South up.
Yes, it was.
Right. It was you guys that made people give up their 40 acres and the few mules they had to move up north. It was your policies that did that.
Bingo.
It wasn't Republican policy. It wasn't any of that.
No.
You made these places poor by taking the economics out of these places and promising people jobs that you could not give them jobs because you had outlawed them from getting those jobs.
Yes.
Right? Don't play with me.
Yeah. Well, you look at it. The heirs property all over this area. It's in danger because people no longer have jobs. They can't afford to keep the property. And for those of you who don't know what heirs property is, you might want to look it up, okay? It's rather fascinating because it runs all through North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, on over to Mississippi, Alabama. Heirs property is vital to the survival of the communities here in the South.
You know what's funny?
What?
When people say how oppressive the South was. They say South was so oppressive. But can I permission to go into the crayon box?
Oh, go for it. I'll let you.
Black folks own more property down here than most white people did. Heirs rights.
Yep. They sure did.
Because
of heirs property.
Right. But here we go. The South was so racist. Black people were so oppressed, but they were so better up north.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Y'all threw black people into literal federal internment camps, a.k.a. the projects. Don't play with me.
She did.
Don't play with me. Oh, God,
look, Cabrini Green in Chicago was half those damn people were from Arkansas.
Yep. Sure was. That's what they were. That's what the projects were. They were federal internment camps. They just called it public housing since the white people didn't want to live in them. We got to put the Negroes somewhere because they come up here for jobs. We're going to pass a law to repeal that part of the Fair Housing Act so they could access the public housing. And then, right?
And you add in the fact that they didn't want those housing projects in their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
They wanted them on brownfield sites.
Right.
They wanted them in the downtown areas. So they didn't buy cars and things like that. So they had to so they could walk or use public transportation back and forth to work.
Correct.
Not only were they kept from owning property, they were kept from owning vehicles to get around.
Yep.
In a lot of ways.
Yep.
Couldn't afford it.
Nope. And that's the thing. And those of you that want to look this up, start back in. This all started with the New Deal back in the 30s.
Yes,
this started with the New Deal.
Yes,
all of that, right? The Great Migration, the Great Suburban Project, all of that is what we're talking about, and we're looking at it in context now, and looking at the damage that all of that has done. Right? So we're, you know what I'm saying? So again, these Democrat policies, even though this is another reason why, again, I know we're going a little bit long and off on another tangent, but it's all kind of inclusive when we're talking about they're calling Jim Crow, right? Is we're thinking about, okay, before I go there, right? We're looking at the policies that they've done, right, to continue to they used to damage black folk, right? But then they turned around, right? Here's the slick part, right? And quote unquote, black folk didn't realize it happening, right? In the mid 80s, the crack epidemic, right? It didn't only affect black folk, it affected white folk too. White folk was smoking just as much crack as white folk was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right? The only difference was the white folk didn't leave the trailer park and black folk were out on the street selling it and getting popped. Right? 88 crack laws, right? It's the same thing. But here's the thing. The government brought those drugs into those neighborhoods. And if you go back 40 years from there, you will know that the government put heroin, starting the first opioid epidemic in the United States, in the federal internment camps, a.k.a. the projects. A.k.a. the welfare check era. But I'm going to leave that alone because that's another discussion for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
Right? So here's the thing. Their policies, these Democrat policies in these cities have done nothing but create and wreak havoc amongst people they have made poor. Notice I didn't go skin tone, right? Because they did it against one skin tone of people because they were gaslit, right?
Yes.
But then they perfected it and used it on the whole population in the United States.
Yes,
and they created a caste system that is really an undercurrent of the whole thing. You got all the poor whites and blacks and Mexicans and everything, any demographic you can think of under this poor status that's going to live in a life of tax servitude to this government. And then you got the ones that are above the 25 to 40, above the 30 to 25% status and up, that are not a part of that, right?
Okay, now you were talking about a caste system.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it over the past, already 4 years now, since 2019?
Mm-hmm.
They created a separate caste, medical servitude.
Yes, they did. Sure did.
Not just for the jab, y'all.
Everything.
But look at what they're doing now with treating kids for gender dysphoria.
Yep.
This is a medical caste.
Oh, look. You want to hear something crazy?
What?
Oh, you want to hear something crazy I heard today?
What?
Oh, my God. Remember during COVID, Melinda Gates came out and said, quote unquote, black people need to go get the jab first because they're more at risk.
Yeah.
Watch this. You talking about medical caste system, right? And we've talked about medical Jim Crow, right? I've talked. That's a good book. If you can find that book, y'all, Medical Jim Crow, great book on the medical caste system in the United States. It is brilliant.
I'll have to take a look.
It is brilliant. Okay. But here's the thing, right? Someone told me that if a black or minority child coming from a poor family wants to transition, they go to the front of the fucking line.
Yeah, I thought you knew that.
They go to the front of the line. If you are a quote-unquote minority as they identify you, right, which means you're not white, basically, right, and you can be literally almost any age, you will go to the front of the line for
I thought you knew that.
gender-affirming hormones and surgery.
Yeah.
Like, I heard full-fledged confirmation, like, this happened, this lady said this happened at, like, her friend told her, because she works at a clinic that does the hormone things, and she said she told her that some black kid came in and was like, da-da-da-da-da. It was like, let's get you right on back here.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the
Let's
fuck
get you.
is
Let's
this?
get you on the hormones. Let's get you set. We're going to put you on that road to sterilization.
I'm like, what the fuck is this? I mean, that's exactly
what it is. It's the road to sterilization.
And it's like, and you're putting, I'm sorry, going to crayon box, please. Thank you. You're putting black and brown people as a priority.
Yes.
I'm sorry, those people that hollering about this damn bill of Mississippi being Jim Crow, you might want to take a longer look at what really the fuck is going on here.
Take a longer look at the medical community. Not just the drug companies, but the hospitals and the surgeons. Yeah. And the counselors. Take a look at it.
Look.
Take a long, hard look.
Look, they started it with abortion in 7 to 3. They started with abortion. Now that they've killed off most of the viable, right? Most of the quote unquote viable black men that, you know, they either they're because the black men that would be having babies either during that era time between the 70s and between 73 and 93 were either crackheads in jail or dead.
Yeah.
And then if they did have kids in these streets, they were raised by crackheads. Let's keep that shit real too. Now you got crackheads raising children. These children are confused as fuck. Introduce Gen Z. They're crazy as hell out here. Now what? Okay,
but
now they're confused.
But it's not just the black community. Okay?
Well, I'm just using that
we were talking about it earlier, and it's like, okay, where did all of these crackpot professors come from that keep insisting that gender studies is a real damn thing?
Yes, they all smoke crack pipes too. But
no. They're the kids. If they're our age, they're the kids of the hippies. You know, the ones who were dropping LSD and acid and cocaine and all this other shit. You don't think that's going to do some genetic damage?
Yeah, it is. But my message at that point in time was particularly tailored for quote unquote black folk that listen, because they have to understand, right? Quote unquote, they're sitting out here talking about fighting white supremacy, and they're fighting all this. And it was white supremacy that put abortion on the table, put it in the black community, and then they turn around and the same white supremacy sterilized a whole bunch of Native American women on the reservations, aka abortion clinics. We can't breeze past this. What this government has done to people that have darker skin. Right now, we turn around. Now we have a point right now where you're first in line for the COVID jab, and now you're first in line for hormone therapy. People, I'm sorry. Let's call this what it is. This is, if we're going to go down the road of quote unquote race or the construct of race, they are literally in an active state of committing democide against brown people. That's it. That has been their agenda. Now what they've also done, and again, as I said before, they've incorporated all poor people of all types in this now. But they seem to give priority to people that have brown skin. Imagine that shit.
Yeah.
That's the disgusting part.
Bringing it back to this bill in Mississippi. When you are dealing with this kind of horror show on one hand, and then you have this bill in Mississippi that everybody's screaming is racist, I'm sorry. No. There is no comparison here. This bill is not racist. It's setting it up so that the families in those neighborhoods can actually start getting justice.
You know what? Here's the thing, right? Now I'm gonna speak on my personal principles on this, right? Mm-hmm. The state should not be expanding itself as such.
They shouldn't.
They should not be expanding themselves.
If nobody in that city is willing to step in,
right? Yeah,
what is the state left to do?
Right. I mean, you can only throw so much money at it, right?
Exactly.
It is a unique situation where that they are in, but that's the thing, right? Here's my thing, right? You know what? Repeal. You know what, Ms. Kell? Look, Look, I'm gonna keep it all the way real. Repeal the damn thing. Governor Tate Reeves, don't sign it. Send it back.
Yeah.
Send it back.
Stew in your own juices.
You know what I mean? Like, look, you go ahead and that money you would have had for the expansion of the CCID, right? And this is gonna sound very morbid and harsh, but I'm gonna keep, you know me, I keep it 100,000 on this show, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? You invest that money in the body bags. Don't play. Yeah. Straight up, invest them in body bags, because apparently this is what is happening. And then was it, we can't get no. Well, you told him it was Jim Crow.
Yeah.
You told him it was Jim Crow. Now you got Bucka running around the neighborhood going black, pew pew on everybody, and now ain't nothing left. Everything is laid flat. Now what you got? Oh, I remember y'all bitched about it in 2023. That was Jim Crow, when these people were trying to make it an attempt to make the city safe because your mayor is fucking incompetent.
Yeah. And your city council obviously is not much better.
I mean, hell, they got the water problem. They ain't even fixed that shit yet.
No, they haven't. So I was going to suggest water hoses, but hell, I doubt they have the water to use them.
Look, that I'm just keeping it all the way real. I don't care who I offend or how I offend them. I'm just going to call it right out what it is. And then at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, when you're running around hollering about, oh, we got to care about black people, you ain't care about shit in fucking Jackson.
Yeah.
When they try to at least fix the problem, even though I don't like the expansion of the state, but again, what are people left to do when you have incompetent people in leadership? At some point, here's the thing, right? For me,
yeah.
At some point in time, you're just going to have to bite the fucking bullet and be like, you know what? I'm going to expand the state because obviously your mayor, your city council ain't doing shit about the crime in the city, right? To the point where it's even threatening, right? Look, the state legislators are not outside of that statistic.
No, they're not.
You see what I'm saying? So you either want them to do something or you come up with a solution to do something.
Well, either the state steps in at this point and expands the district, or the federal government steps in and takes it the hell over. What do you want?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's literally getting to that point with your crime rates in there, folks. Your city doesn't want to fix the water system.
Yep.
Your city doesn't want to fix the crime problem.
Yep.
What do you expect your state legislature, I can't talk tonight, legislature to do? Just sit on their thumbs and just say, oh, well, it's just Jackson. We're just going to let it burn down.
Look.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Look, the mayor has direct access to the governor. He has direct access to the governor. Like, pick up the phone and call the governor. Yo, what's up, Tate? What's good, bro? Yeah. Nah, he ain't trying to get no money out of the governor to try to fix that water problem, because that water problem is also affecting the legislators in the city. Yes. This is what these people don't get. They just say, oh, they're going to do this, and the white people, this man, shut the freak up.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with crime.
Zero.
It has everything to do with the incompetence of the people at the top in your city government.
135,000%. Hey, we got to roll out. I'm getting the red light from the people. I'm gracious at the good folks over there at the stations. Let me run a little bit long. I told them I was going to be a little bit long winded tonight, so they kind of slid open the slot for a brother to slide me in. So I appreciate you.
Thank y'all so much for that.
I appreciate you 100%, and I appreciate everybody in live chat that came through to hang out with us today. I hope y'all got some information, some good insight, got fired up a little bit. Remember, I lied about yesterday. The Monarchy Project movement page will be up sometime this evening. I had some problems, but it'll be up. The newsletter is going to start going out sometime midweek. So remember, get your email addresses in, this, that, and the third. Get a hold of Kel, leave them in the chat. Kel will get them to me. But until next time, I'm not going to know what tomorrow's show is at 9:30 p.m. with Ms. Val, but she'll tell me. But you'll know when I know. Until next time, life, love, liberty, and happiness. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Southern Liberty Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media. Subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.bpmg.us or leave a rating and review on iTunes. To catch all the latest from Roderick, You can follow him on social media at manofjustice007. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.